Hi lovelies and welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda's channel. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you'll be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much for all the love and support. To those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate you guys are the real MVP. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Alright lovelies, let's dive into it. So I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok, and I thought I'd share with you guys where pan-colored women is actually still, sharing their experience when encounter with haunted houses, as well as pan-colored guys. And I was just able to put up some of their stitches. These people are the only ones that's always, encountering stuffs like this. I know that, black people also do stuffs like this or encounter stuff, but their own is so, Actually, I'm just gonna roll the clip as well as some of the stitches and stories I was able to put together. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. Alright lovelies, let's dive into it.
This is about my childhood home in Florida. I lived there for 11 years, and there were a lot of unexplainable things that happened to not just me, but my parents. My parents denied it for a very long time until it reached a point that we couldn't. So to kind of start at the beginning, when we moved in, there was definitely a shift in the energy of the house, and my dad would often talk about feeling really cold spots. He'd be like, come here, feel this area. Does this seem really cold to you? And I think my mom would just write it off. We never talked about it. I remember one time my dad was opening a bottle of wine in the kitchen, and I watched it happen. My mom was there. I was like 6 years old, 7 years. I mean, I was young. I wasn't drinking, but this cork, he did it on the counter. It came off the bottle and somehow kept jumping. The momentum kept the cork jumping around the kitchen, and he couldn't catch it. And he was like, man, he was like, this is so weird. He got really frustrated. It was just a weird thing that happened. Another time that I only found out years later, my parents were cooking and they had a knife on the counter, to chop something, and it flew from the counter into the wall. I didn't know about that for years. We never talked about it. So, as I grew older, I started to notice that my door would open on its own, and I had my dad take apart the door handle. I had him check the level of the door to maybe see if it was the weight of the air, something was not level and was just creaking. No, I mean, the door handle would turn and release, like someone was opening it. And he would sit there right after it happened and look at me and say, Tess, nothing is wrong with this door. I don't know what to tell you. It's fine. It's in your imagination. So, it just reached a point where I became so irritated and frustrated that I seemed to be the only one kind of experiencing these things. Now, we had a kitchen table set of chairs and a table that was all made of wood. My parents had it since the 90s. It was something that they had invested in, so it was heavy furniture, right? Sturdy. There was one seat at the table that would creak as if someone was sitting in it, there was heavy weight in it. And my mom would notice it so much, mainly because she spent the most time in the kitchen, cooking food for us and whatnot, that she started rotating the chairs every time she cleaned or swept under them to see if it was just one chair. And it wasn't all 4 chairs that happened. It was only one spot in the kitchen that creaked as if someone was sitting there. Unexplainable noises and things would happen. My dad, one time, I was sitting eating breakfast at 6:30 and we're about to leave. And he looks at me, he goes, Tess, you're not going to believe this. He was like, I, in the middle of the night, woke up to a sound of glass breaking on the floor in the living room. He goes, I, ran out here, couldn't find a thing. Nothing was moved. Nothing was touched. Didn't make any sense. He was like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Now, I will also add, I had some freaky experiences in this house, weird dreams. Things in my room in the middle of the night would be flying around my room. Like, it would be pitch black because I needed to sleep with the lights out, but I would hear drawers of my desk being thrown open and papers just being thrown everywhere. I mean, I had no clue how to talk about this or how to deal with it growing up. I was a very odd kid, for sure. And I didn't know how to deal with this at home. So as this was happening, as I grew older, my parents denied it a lot because they didn't want to scare my younger brother, who was 3 years younger. I can understand that. I wish that they had talked to me separately more and just empathized with me, because I was always told it was my imagination. Until this one experience, about a year before we moved out of the house, I was playing piano. I was maybe 16 years old. It was midday, beautiful day out, no weather. No one was in the house with me. My mom and my brother were playing tennis, like, a couple minutes away. It was their like Saturday afternoon thing that they did. And I was playing piano by myself. The alarm to the house was on, so anytime you opened a window or door, it would ding and you knew someone was in the house. My parents were kind of like freaks about that, but you never know. It's always safe to have. So anyway, goes to show there was no one in the home with me. I stopped playing piano for a second and I picked up my phone and I start hearing a man running down the hallway. Like, I hear the feet hitting the floor and like I hear a man's heavy breathing as if he's just run a marathon. And so I turn and I look at the main part of the hallway, the main center of the house. It was a one level home. Every room was kind of connected to each other. It was more of an open concept. And I hear the running come in the room, and it stops in front of me and goes completely silent. And I just lost my mind. I could not handle it anymore. I was like, I am so done. I'm up to here. No one's believed me. And look, I'm hearing someone in the home and there's no one here. How do you explain that? So I run outside. I call my mom. I'm like, drop everything, get in the car right now and come get me. Like, drop everything. Like, I need you to come get me. It's an emergency. She comes and picks me up. She looks at me in the car. She goes, Tessa, what happened? She was like, I've never seen you so white in the face. So she brings me back to the tennis lesson that my brother's having. And one of her friends is there who claims to be a psychic. Now, why I say it with air quotes is because she was a very nice woman, and she knew things about our family that you could not find on the internet, that are not known to anyone other than my parents. She knew things about our family heritage, names and places and things that had happened that are not public knowledge. And I only say with air quotes because they were suspicious of her at the time, and I, looking back, believe her. She came up to my mother and was like, what was wrong? Like, why did you have to leave so suddenly? Like, what happened? And my mom was like, oh, Tess just like heard something, and I had to go get her. And this woman looks at my mother and goes, there was someone in your house. I'm coming over as soon as we're done with this lesson, and we need to figure this out. So she comes over. She and her husband got involved. I don't know how, but he got involved, and they talked to a spirit who was in the home. His name was George, and he died young. So they told me that he didn't really have much in his life. He died tragically or something, and he had become attached to us somehow. He found us somehow. She said maybe it was like we were at the grocery store, like, the spirits can become just attached to you. If you are, it just can happen. So she said that he became attached to my mother because he thought she was, he just liked us. And then as I grew older, he developed a crush on me. And wanted to run and hear my piano because he liked hearing it. So after we moved out of that, once we were like moving out of that home about a year later for my dad's career, I told him, I just said out loud, I was like, please do not follow us. Stay here or go wherever. Like, we don't belong with us. So, that's what happened, and he did not follow us. I've had a few experiences since then, not nearly as extreme, but needless to say, it was very traumatic, and looking back, I don't even talk to my parents about it. So that was my childhood.
This was a few years ago, I would say before COVID, maybe like 2018, 2019. I wanted to get a little vanity mirror because I've been seeing them all over social media, and also I wanted to improve better on my makeup, so I needed a little mirror so I could really look into the details. So this one day, me, my dad, and my sister, we went out to the flea market or the swap meet in my local area, and I came across this old lady who was selling like really vintage stuff, and I saw that she had a little pink vanity mirror, and it had like those little lights on the side, so I thought it was perfect. I was like, wow, like this is so cute, I really would like to buy it. The lady says, oh yeah, that's such a great option, but just so you know, it is built from the 1950s. That's where I should have like booked it, you know? But instead I purchased it and I took it home with me. I show my dad the mirror and I'm like, oh dad, like isn't this mirror so cute? And he tells me, yeah, it is really cute. Let's just hope it's not haunted. Warning sign number 2. Maybe I should have never purchased it. But it was already too late. I already handed the lady the money. We were already on our way home. It was fine. Whatever happened, happened. I was really hoping it wasn't haunted, but boy, was I proven wrong. So once we got home, everyone settled down, dropping off all their bags. I went into my room and I started to redecorate my closet. But before I did that, I put on music. So I had this little tiny speaker. I don't have it anymore because it broke down. But I had this little speaker and I put it in my closet. My closet is on the other side of the room, over here. And this is the exit door. So as I was like going on about my day, I started to move a couple things around my room. And then at some point, my dad and my sister, they came over to like ask me a few questions about, I don't know what it was, but it was just a small conversation. And both of them leave. They leave into the kitchen and they start talking. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and hang out with them for a little bit, just give myself a little bit of break from all this cleaning. So I start to exit out of my room, right? All of a sudden, I hear this loud crash. And I was like, okay, I was the last one here. Let me go ahead and check what fell. Because at first I thought maybe some of the things that I moved around fell. I was specifically looking at this one umbrella that I had. But it was standing right up. It was still where I left it. So I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting because everything else is like they're in boxes and stuff. Like they wouldn't fall. So I couldn't find anything. I was really confused. So I started to leave my room again. But before I could officially like exit the door, I noticed that the music sounded different. It sounded muffled. So I look around. All of a sudden, I see the speaker in the center towards the exit of the room. And I'm like, using physics, using science, trying to find an explanation as to how the fuck the speaker from the other side of the room went all the way to the other side of the room when nobody touched it. So I was really confused. I was really concerned. And I was like, whoa, hold on, like, no way. So I go over to my dad and I'm like, Dad, like, I played this music on the speaker. All of a sudden it's on the floor, but like in the center of the room. I don't know what happened. I didn't touch it. Nothing happened. Like there wasn't even like an earthquake or anything to make it fall, especially that far. So I was really confused. And my dad was also kind of confused because he's like, what? Like, how did that happen? But he also asked me, he's like, are you sure you didn't do anything? You didn't touch it? You didn't like throw something? Like nothing? And I was like, no, nothing. I was literally exiting the room. I don't understand why that happened. So my dad, he was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I was kind of spooked because I was the last one in the room when that happened. So I asked my little sister, I was like, hey, like, can you stay with me as I organize my closet? And he's like, yeah, sure thing. So my little sister is helping me out on the side. I put the speaker back. My dad, he's actually helping me hang up this mirror, this other mirror that we had, but we've had it for a really long time. Nothing spooky ever happened with that mirror. He hangs it up on the wall, and he even like tugs it, he balances it out, he makes sure that it's secure, right? That it's in place. My dad starts to leave. Me and my sister, our backs are turned away from my dad and the mirror that he just put up. So all of a sudden, again, we hear this loud crash. The mirror that he just secured fell off on top of the table where I had my makeup and everything, all the way down to the floor. So it was a huge, huge crash that I jumped up and I screamed. My sister immediately turned around. My dad came rushing in, and we all just stare at that. And we're like, what the fuck? So we all stare at it, and we're like, what? My dad, he asked me and my sister, did you guys get near it? No. Did you guys throw something? No. Did you guys do anything? No. Me and my sister were standing where we were standing, and we didn't move because we were scared. My dad was kind of annoyed at this point, but not at us, but just at the weird things that are happening. Because before this incident, nothing happened like this before. So we start to clean up the table, we start to clean up the things that fell, and we noticed the vanity mirror was there. My dad says, you know what? Ever since we got that mirror, weird stuff started happening. And I told him, you know what, Dad? You're absolutely right. So we had to get rid of it because it was too much energy that caused physical things to move. And the crazy thing is that before we got the mirror, nothing happened. So the minute we got rid of it, everything stopped. And ever since then, nothing like that has ever occurred in my house. Which I'm really grateful for, but scared as fuck.
A lot of paranormal experiences throughout my childhood. In fact, one of them happened like right behind me. But this particular story happened in the Philippines. My dad and mom built a house years ago, about 5 minutes away from my mom's hometown. This house is in the mountains. There are like no street lights. It's pretty out there. Many of my family members have had experiences in this house, let me say that. The way this house is set up is there's 3 stories. The second floor is like the kitchen, living room, and all that stuff. And then the 3rd floor are all our rooms. But the ground floor is actually where my aunt and my uncle lives. So there was one day where my cousin and I wanted to go to the river. And I had asked one of my aunts. And she was like, yeah, cool, that's fine. Just ask your aunt and uncle, the ones that live downstairs, if we can come with them, because they were going to go on their way there too. My mom is from a poor area in the Philippines, so we didn't have like a washing machine, dryer in our house. We had to go down to the river to wash our clothes, which is what my aunt and uncle were going to do. And so my cousin and I went to the ground floor. We were knocking on his door and it was unlocked. So we were like, okay, like we'll open it a little bit. And we kind of just shouted through the door. And the way it's set up is that on the other side of the door, there's the kitchen and the living room, but you have to turn a corner to get to his room, which is where he was. He was on the phone. It sounded like a serious phone call. And we called him like twice and he didn't answer. He was just talking on the phone. So we were just like, okay, cool. We'll just go by ourselves. My cousin and I walked our way down that hill to the river. We normally go with a lot of people or with an adult because it is like the mountains, and even though no one's from this area, if there was a car that went by, they could have easily like snatched us and gotten away with it because no one would have seen and there are no like lights in this area. But who do we find when we get down to the river? My aunt and uncle were like knee deep in laundry and we were just like, what the hell? Like, weren't you not just on a call back at home? No, they weren't. No vehicles had passed when we had gone down that hill to the river. So there was no way they could have walked or driven past. And that's just one of the experiences I had. I think my aunt that lives in the ground floor has had the most experiences in this house, because there was one time I saw her crying with, we had like a priest in the house, and he was like spraying like holy water or something. Unfortunately, my aunt has never told me any of her paranormal experiences, but my cousin, who lives in the ground floor, said that there was one time she's heard giggling from like children in the bedroom, like jumping on the bed. There was another time I was playing hide and seek tag with my cousins, and we play it in pairs because it's scary going around this area on our own. And basically there's a second floor exit that goes towards like the back side of the house, towards the mountain area. And I remember my cousin and I wanted to be sneaky. We wanted to like hide outside, but we turn the corner and we see this glowing white man standing there, just standing outside. It was pitch black at night when this happened, and he was just glowing. I saw the pants. He kind of had like spiky-ish hair. My cousin and I just looked at each other and we ran back inside the house. There was another time I was sleeping with my brother in the master's bedroom. One of my aunts was cleaning the 3rd floor, which is where that bedroom is, and she said that my mom walked into the room. So like a couple minutes after she was like doing the cleaning, she followed her into the room, and apparently my mom wasn't there. She just thought it was my mom because the lady who walked into the bedroom I was sleeping in had long, like dark black hair. There was another time we had like a family gathering in the 2nd floor, which is where the kitchen, living room, and all that stuff is, and a family friend was around that gate where we saw that like glowing man. She was there with like dishes and doing dishes and stuff, and literally just randomly in the nighttime she screamed and ran back like into the house, and obviously everyone was like, what the hell just happened? She said that there was a stick poking through like the top-ish area of the gate. There's like a gate to get into the house, and apparently there was a wooden stick that was poking through the gate at her, but there was no one there, and the stick like fell to the ground. I don't know. Obviously, as a family, we've had many experiences in this house. Nothing tops my haunted doll experience when I was a kid, but I don't even want to share that with the internet because I feel like it's so unbelievable. But yeah, I haven't been home in a while, but this house really has stuff going on in there.
Sophomore year of college, me and my roommates lived in a very haunted house. It was so haunted that the first incident that happened made us call the police because we thought that someone was breaking into our house. I'm going to give you some context for this to be like effectively scary and make sense. So there was a bunch of us living in the house. I think there was like 5 of us in this one house. It was like a bigger house, but it was really old. And I'm there completely by myself, like home alone, have been home alone all morning. And for this to make sense, there were 2 doors that went outside to the front, 1 door that went outside to the back. The main front door, we literally never used because it was stuck. Like to get it, this is an old house. To get the door open, you would have to like slam your shoulder against the door to make this door open. But there was another door that went out to the garage, and that's the door that every single one of us came in and out of 100% of the time. We never used the front door. So I came out of my bedroom and into the kitchen, and the front door that we never use was standing wide open. And I'm like, and it's broad daylight, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, first of all, who used the front door? Like, no one ever uses the door, but I didn't think really anything of it in that exact moment. I was like, that's weird. Not only did someone use the door that we never use, but they also left it open. Like, how long has it been open? So anyways, I'm on the phone with my mom this whole time, and I'm like, hold on, mom, like front door's open. Let me go shut that. So I walk over to the front door, I shut it, deadbolt lock it. Okay, I'm like, all right, weird. Again, I'm home alone. I'm like 19 years old. So I deadbolt lock the door, turn around, walk back into the kitchen, and my dog starts barking like crazy. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I turn back around, and the door is standing wide open again. The door that I had just deadbolt locked. So in my brain, I'm like, someone's in this house and they just left. And so I fucking called the police. I was like, yo, someone broke into our house. Like, come check it out. So they show up. And this is where we started realizing that something really bizarre was going on. So I played in a band at the time, like a shitty college band. And we had probably $8,000 worth of equipment in our living room just stacked up. We also had a clear glass coffee like carafe thing that we put all of the money that we ever made from our little shitty band shows in this jar. So there's like several hundreds of dollars sitting on the coffee table right in the room. And the police are like, this doesn't make sense. Like if somebody had broken into your house, why didn't they steal this wad of cash that's in plain sight? Also, you didn't hear anyone. Like it was so weird. So anyway, they left. They were like, let us know. So out of fear, we installed like a motion detected security system. And gosh, I'm going to just kind of rapid fire tell stories now because this house was so haunted that something happened every single day that we were there, every single day. And we would talk about this to our friends. And of course, they didn't believe us. Who believes you when you say your house is haunted? You sound crazy. And we would just say to them, come over for 1 hour. Come over for one night. Come over for 15 minutes and something will happen that you cannot explain. The most frequent thing that the ghost would do would move furniture around while we were home. Like we would be sitting in the kitchen and hear furniture moving around in the other bedroom. And then we would go into that bedroom and hear furniture moving around in the other room. That was weird. You would go in and out of the kitchen and all the drawers would be open or the cabinets would be open and you had just been standing there. The worst part though was the, what do you call them? They're like shadow people. That was what we were getting haunted by, was shadow people. It wasn't ghosts. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like it looks like a guy in one of those like green screen skin suits, but they're all black. Like it just looks like a shadow of a person and no person is actually there. And it was happening so frequently that we weren't even scared anymore. We got like pretty desensitized to what was going on. It was like, saw the shadow person again, or like my car keys weren't where I left them, or my room is completely rearranged, or, I don't know. It was crazy. But this one time, my mom saw it in broad daylight at like 6 o'clock in the morning, fixing a cup of coffee, and she saw it walk through the room. My dad saw it one time. People like friends that would come over. That's what I mean. Like we were like, people wouldn't believe us. And it was like, just come over and something will happen to you. Like you will see the ghost or you'll see the shadow person or, something absolutely unexplainable will happen to you. And it wasn't just at night. Like I would have moments where it would be like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday and I would get so fucking freaked out in my own house that I would just go sit in the backyard because I'm like, I cannot be in there right now. Like the ghost is acting up. Craziest part though, we moved out after our lease was up. We had planned on staying there for our entire college experience and we were like, absolutely fucking not. Like we're moving out of this house right now. Like the minute that we're allowed to move out, we're moving out. And fast forward a couple of months, I was at a party talking to some people that I had just met, talking about how, then it got brought up, we're all telling spooky stories. And I was like, yeah, I used to live over on B Avenue and our house was haunted. And they were like, oh, was it at insert the address? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, when we were freshmen, our older friends lived there and they said it was haunted and they moved out for the same reason. And I was like, there's no way. And they were like, yeah, they actually took a pencil and in this one bedroom, they wrote their names on the ceiling of the closet and it might still be there. And I got home and sure enough, there were all their names written with pencil in the top of my closet. And I was like, oh my God, we're not the only ones that think this house is haunted. And every year I see that it's listed on Zillow for rent and I'm like, dude, no one can stay there more than a year because it's so fucking haunted. Anyways, if you want to hear more stories, I have literally 100 of them that I could tell specifically, but the funniest one that sticks out to me all the time is the one where I called the police because we didn't realize it was a ghost yet. And then it's like after, time went on, it was like, oh no, don't call the cops. It's just the ghost that's breaking into your car outside. Like there's not actually anyone out there. Sorry.
Like seriously, lovelies, this life is very mysterious. Like there are a lot of things that is happening that we cannot even start explaining. Why I got interested in these stories and curiosity and all of that is the fact that on my course of actually looking for, what to put up here, even here, and my other channel, which happens to be Belinda's channel, I was like, why? Or is it that after all of this, slavery thing has been abolished, the slave masters and people who own slaves, were given reparations. And the people that is actually the slaves were not. And with all the atrocities that happened, during that time, is it that these people just, got over it? They actually, moved on, but the slave masters were living their fulfilled life till date upon all the atrocities they committed. And for the course of asking myself questions, I was like, okay, let me just see what happened. And I came across a video of a black sister sharing her encounter, which I already, shared that story in my previous video of, our ancestors and all of that. And she was like, what the pan-colored man shared with her before he passed was something thrilling. And this answered my question, like, okay, I think that some of these things, some of the, enslaved people were actually, they were trying to seek for revenge. Some of them never left the house. They were humiliated. Some of them continued to stay in the house. Some of them, like, there were so many scary stories. And another one that scared me, which I didn't put here, is that of a family, a pan-colored family, who have a toddler of 3 years. And one day the mom decided that she have an event, and the mom was like, the baby always cry at night. So she was like, okay, this should be normal when you keep a child in her room and all of that, the way the baby cries and all of that. And she thought that it was a normal thing. So one day she was like, she's going out and she needed a nanny for that day to babysit her child, which she did. And it was actually the babysitter that was narrating the story I'm about to share. She talks about how the child was constantly looking at somewhere. When she looked at this place in her room, she cries. And the nanny comes to, take her, stay at the living room to watch TVs and all of that. But she noticed that the baby was constantly looking in the same direction. And she was like, why is it that the baby is just looking at this place? Okay, let's go and sleep. She took the baby back to her room, and the baby was still crying. She had to like, okay, let me see. She brought the baby back to the sitting room while she was carrying her. Then she then noticed that behind her, the baby was still murmuring and looking, and and the baby was like, he's here, something like that. Then she now looked back and saw a huge person with a dark shadow, and it was so terrifying. She had to run out with the child from that house. She had to start waiting for the mom to come back. She never go into the house because of what she saw and all of that. And the question is that, why is it that the mom never noticed this about her toddler? Anyways, lovelies, why not just leave me your thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational, informative purposes. So please share this video, subscribe to this channel if you're here to do that. Or if you have similar experience, you can actually share it in the comment section, and we all can, deliberate on it. And I will see you, lovelies, when I upload the next one.